For my biomechanics presentation, I will be analyzing the stages in a deadlift movement. There are different variations of a deadlift movement, but we are going to be focusing more on the barbell deadlift movement, which can be performed as either a sumo deadlift or traditional conventional deadlift. For the purpose of this biomechanical assessment, I will be discussing the conventional deadlift, the phases involved in performing a conventional deadlift, techniques used to perform it, the muscles engaged, the steps to performing this movement. Why are the steps even important? What is the connection between a deadlift and biomechanics and its principles? A deadlift is a compound exercise involving multiple muscles. There are three major phases: the concentric lifting phase, the pull phase, and the lockout. The lockout. Right here is the concentric phase, the lifting phase. Let me expand it. Yes, sir. In this phase, the focus is more on driving the feet through the ground to generate enough force to lift the bar off the ground, like so. Ready? Make sure your back is straight and flat line from the base of the neck down the spine. And right there. That step is the next one, which is the pull phase. Exit out, expand it. For the pull phase, this phase back goes up. Yes, man. Which leads us to the lockout phase. For the lockout phase, is going to be the next slide. In this next video, we will notice that as the bar is being lifted up, pulled up, with the back being straight, the glute is engaged. The glute is the first of all, the bar is in the midpoint of the quad, and the glute is pretty much driving into the bar, right? And the back right here, notice the chest out, shoulders put back, traps engaged, and back compact. The glute also engaged also. For this exercise to really be effective, they have the primary movers, they have the synergists. Those are more like supplementary muscles, and then we have the stabilizers. But to go into that step, or to go into those, which muscles do we need to perform a deadlift? Starting from the base of the neck, you have the trapezium middle right here. And this right here, the spine, is the erector spinae. Down to the gluteus maximus, the abductor magnus is the inner thigh. The quadriceps is right here. The hamstrings. The gastrocnemius, pretty much the calf muscle, and the soleus right here. Which ones are the prime movers? The prime movers, which ones are like the necessary the necessary muscle for the exercise? They have the glutes, the hamstring, the quads. Which ones are the synergists? Which ones are the supplementary? The lower back, the calf muscle, which is gastrocnemius, the soleus. They're all the supplementary muscle. But also the erector spinae and the abdominals can also be classified as stabilizers because they hold down the core while the exercise is being performed, which is very important to do a deadlift. As stated earlier, there are two major techniques for a barbell deadlift, namely sumo and traditional, also referred to as conventional deadlift. Within these two, there are two subsets based on the hand placement. But for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be focusing on the pronation, which is palm facing down, traditional deadlift. To perform any exercise, no matter what it is, make sure you are in a safe environment. If weights are involved, use approximate weight to prevent injuries. Now, we've talked about the phases involved in performing a deadlift, which is the concentric, the pull phase, and the lockout phase. We've talked about the techniques, right? The sumo and the traditional deadlift. We've listed out the muscles needed for a deadlift. Now, what are the steps performing this deadlift? Step 1, safety, safety, safety. Make sure you're safe, make sure you're in a safe environment. Step 2, load appropriate weight to prevent injuries. If it's too heavy, you risk getting injured. If it's too light, you don't make your gains, you don't get them gains. Step 3, get the bars close to the shin, rather to the tibia. Step 4, hinge at the pelvis, like so, which leads us to step 5. While driving through the ground, engage the posterior chain, keeping the back tight, straight, and flat. Drawing an imaginary line from the base of the neck down the spine, like I stated earlier. Once the bar is up, the mid quad. Once the bar is up to the mid quad, squeeze the gluteus maximus and return to the starting position, making sure the movement is slow, controlled, and continuous. Why are these steps important and what connection does it have to biomechanics and its principle? We know that torque is equals to force times moment arm. And as you can see right here, why are these steps important and what the gluteus maximus is lengthened. Steps have to biomechanics and the gluteus maximum and the hamstring, they are lengthened, creating tension. Getting close to the bar help reduce effort, increasing mechanical advantage for greater force production. Torque is equal to force times moment arm. But the mistake that a lot of But sometimes getting the bar to touch the body causes drag and friction, which may decrease the efficiency of the lift. Earlier in the class, we learned that forces act in pairs. In the case of a deadlift, especially the core area, the rectus spinae acts as a stabilizer, while the rectus abdominis and oblique act as antagonist stabilizers to counter the pull of the erector spinae. Then during the deadlift, the angle where the lower body normally is at a 75-degree angle, starting from the hips to the knee and goes down to the calf and the ankle, the 75-degree angle, to generate enough force that will translate to help pull the bar up and perform a deadlift.